Welcome to My Life on a GLP-1. I'm your host, Scott Johnson, and as always, I'm joined by the fantastic Sarah.
Hey Scott, it's great to be here. So what are we discussing today?
Today, we're diving into a topic that a lot of people are quietly experiencing, but maybe don't have a name for. It's that moment when you sit down with your absolute favorite meal, say a perfect plate of nachos. You take that first bite and nothing.
Oh, the disappointment is real. It's like your brain just goes, okay, food, got it, next. You start wondering if you've somehow become too enlightened for nachos.
Exactly. Spoiler alert, no one is too enlightened for nachos, and it is more than just food. You know how sometimes you just have that feeling that can only be described as meh? Well, what is happening has a name. It's called anhedonia, and it's this reduced ability to feel pleasure. We're going to talk about why some people on GLP-1s often feel this way.
I'm so glad we're talking about this, because it's not always dramatic sadness. It's more like life turning from full color down to waiting room beige.
Waiting room beige is the perfect description. You're still functioning, you're going to work, walking the dog, doing most anything, but the internal signal is just quieter. People online have even started calling it Ozempic personality.
Right, which isn't a clinical diagnosis, of course, but it captures that feeling of emotional flattening. And it's not just food, is it? I've heard from people who say hobbies, music, even socializing just don't have the same spark.
That's the key. It can be a dulled response to many sources of joy. I love how you put it, emotional flattening. So the big question is, why does this happen? To understand it, we have to go to the brain. These medications do more than just manage appetite. They act directly on the brain's reward system.
Dopamine, right?
You got it. GLP-1 receptors are found in the central hubs of our dopamine reward circuit. When the medication activates these receptors, it can change how our brain processes the anticipation and experience of pleasure.
So it's like it's turning down the volume on the brain's party music.
Precisely. This reward circuit isn't just for food, it's also for socializing, hobbies, and music. Dopamine is the brain's way of saying, this is good, do it more. When the medication dampens the food response, it can spill over into other areas. Think of it like a broad spectrum antibiotic that affects more than its target.
The joy isn't gone, just weaker for a while.
That's a great way to put it. The same mechanism that quiets the food noise might, for some people, also turn down the volume on other things. Now, the science is still evolving. Some studies suggest a risk of depression, while others find these meds can actually lower the risk of worsening depression in people who already have it.
So it's not that the brain machinery for joy is broken, it's more like the on switch is on more of a dimmer. The things that used to easily trigger a feeling of pleasure now need a bit more oomph. So it's complicated and everyone's experience is different.
Enormously different. But what the research doesn't do is tell you that your lived experience is wrong. If you feel flat, that flatness is real and it's worth paying attention to.
And it can be really disorienting. You hit a weight loss milestone and everyone is celebrating, but you just feel hollow. You think, why am I not happier? That disconnect isn't you being ungrateful, it's a symptom.
Absolutely. So let's talk about who might be more likely to feel this. The patterns so far suggest that people with a personal or family history of depression or anxiety might be at a higher risk.
That makes sense. If your dopamine system was already running a little low, any change would be more noticeable. What about dosage?
Good question. Anecdotally, some doctors have reported that reducing the medication dosage often helps resolve these feelings. It's definitely something to discuss with your provider if the flatness feels significant.
So, when is it time to have that conversation?
If the flatness is persistent, if you've lost interest in things that really matter to you, or if it's affecting your relationships or work, it's important to remember the goal of being on a GLP-1 is not to become smaller and sadder at the same time. That's not a health outcome. But as you mentioned, feeling emotionally flatter sometimes, a good outcome is having that flatter tummy, you know?
Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. If someone is feeling this, what can they do? How do you rebuild pleasure?
This is the most important part. It's about deliberately and gently rebuilding sources of joy. When food stops being the main event, you have to find new headliners for your life's festival.
I love that. My life's festival, like my personal Coachella. I am coining that phrase. So maybe things like increased movement. As your body changes, moving it can feel more rewarding in a whole new way.
Yes, and connection. Spending time with people who make you genuinely laugh becomes so much more important. Also, creative work, time outdoors, learning something new. It's about noticing the quieter version of joy, the kind that arrives without cheese fries. I didn't realize, but I dove into more creative work myself with TikTok, writing my book, and this podcast. Every little bit changes the lineup in your personal Coachella.
It's an invitation, really. When the food noise gets quieter, there's suddenly all this mental space. And it can be unsettling at first, but it's also an opportunity to figure out what truly brings you joy when food isn't doing all the heavy lifting.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's not about finding a replacement for that one big hit of pleasure from food, but more about weaving a whole new tapestry of smaller, more varied joys. Like maybe the joy isn't in the giant slice of cake anymore, but in the quiet satisfaction of tending to a plant or the warmth of a really good conversation.
It's almost like recalibrating your joyometer. Before, our systems might have been so primed for high dopamine rewards that it took a 10 out of 10 event to really register. But now you have to learn to appreciate the twos and threes.
That's the gift hidden inside the silence. That space can feel peaceful. It can also feel unsettling. Both are completely valid responses to the same experience. It's an adjustment, but it's not a permanent state. So if you're feeling this, you're not broken and you're not ungrateful. You're just adjusting to a whole new relationship with reward.
And it's so important to remember that joy does come back. And one day, something is going to make you laugh again. Really laugh. Maybe it will be a ridiculous group chat, a terrible movie you loved anyway, or the moment you realize your old pants now fit like a parachute with functional pockets. It might just show up wearing a slightly different outfit. And a great way to make you feel really great right now is to take 3 minutes and leave us a review or 5-star rating on our podcast on Apple. We appreciate you sharing the love, and it will make you feel great. Tell us, Scott, what final thoughts do you have today on this topic of anhedonia?
Perfectly said. Thanks so much for breaking this down with me today, Sarah. The current research does not prove that GLP-1 medications directly cause anhedonia in everyone. Studies on mood outcomes are genuinely mixed. If things feel flat, you are not broken. You are not ungrateful. You're not too complicated for this medication to work. You may be adjusting to a genuinely different relationship with food, with your body, with reward, and with the version of yourself you are still figuring out. So, on behalf of Sarah, I'm Scott Johnson saying thanks to all of you for listening. My gift to you is that the joy comes back and you share joy with others. And I almost forgot. Always remember to love your journey.